Okay, this is going to be part 1 on making our LCD viewer for the T2i. Now, yeah, I told you in the last video that I've just kind of been whipping this up out of bits and pieces. And as always, I want to make sure that the bits and pieces are things that you can find and can come up with. If I have something that was made in 1942 and you can't find it anymore, it doesn't help you much in the project. So this time, let's just see what kind of parts we're going to need, what they're going to cost, and then we'll see what tools we might or might not need, and we'll go from there. Now, if you saw the unit that I made, this was just, like I said, made out of cardboard as an experiment. And it really wasn't anything special, but let me get inside it to show you the key component, which is probably going to be tricky. Let's see, I may have to cut it apart to get to one of our components. Alright, here we go. 2 of our components, as a matter of fact. Now, well, I put it together pretty good with all this tape, didn't I? We're not going to use masking tape when we build the real thing. Alright, you're starting to see... It's going to take forever, isn't it? You're starting to see, I said, the things that make this thing work. Alright, let's get that piece out of here and get all this tape out of here. Now, despite all of the masking tape that's on it, that's actually a lens hood with a 37mm thread. And these are available on eBay for about $10. And the nice thing about it is it gives us a good flat surface and a symmetrical surface to work with. Now, let's get that out of the way. Now let me show you the next thing, because you saw that lens that I pulled out of there. Well, that lens came out of this pop-up magnifier. And you can see that's one of those lighted magnifiers. Now I probably paid too much for it. I bought it at the Office Max. I think it was Office Max. I don't know, one of those office stores. And I think I paid $7 or $8. It seems like I've seen them on eBay for around $4 or $5. I'll provide links to all of these things so you can find them. Simply put, you just pop that little plastic lens out. And once the lens is out, you can use it and get rid of the thing. I don't know, you could probably make a cool prop out of that thing for later. Anyway, we'll get rid of that for right now. What you'll end up doing will be mounting the lens to the 37mm lens hood. And we'll get into that when we get into the building. The next key component that you're going to need is what's going to hold this all together on the T2i. And they're advertised on eBay as LCD protectors. And this was a relatively cheap one. I say relatively cheap. I paid 12 bucks for it, but it's made out of plastic, so I'm not real excited about that. I think that should have only been a couple bucks. But, you know, who am I to judge? You can get better ones that are about $20, and I would have done that, but I'm a cheapskate. So anyway, we're going to work with the plastic one, and I think that'll be just fine. Now, those are actually the 3 major things that you'll have to have. One of these 37mm lens hoods, and one of those pop-up magnifiers, and the little gidgee that goes on the back of the camera. And like I said, I'll have links to all of that. The last big component that you're going to need is going to be a piece, I'm going to cover up my microphone where you can't hear me, is a piece of this 1/4-inch thick foam board. And I bought black because that's just traditionally the color. It really doesn't seem to matter. That brown cardboard viewfinder worked just fine. But black ought to look better, and when we get done, the thing ought to look a little more professional, and really that's what we want. Now, the foam board, I bought it at that office store, and I paid about $8 for this piece. And I don't know, what is it, about a 2x3, if that much size piece. I've seen it in grocery stores and for smaller pieces for a couple bucks. So budget about $5 for that. We'll add up all of this stuff in a little bit. I was going to buy gaffer's tape, which is not what this is. You can see it close up. No, that's just black duct tape. It's all I could find. So we're going to work with that. The nice thing about this project is that you can do it over and over and over. It's not going to cost you a whole heck of a lot. Now, let's see. Do we have all our components? I don't guess you need that lens cover. Tools that we're going to need. Now, the first one you're going to need is going to be a tape measure. I mean, that's simple enough. That's how we'll determine just how large the thing's going to be. And in our next video, we'll start looking at how to make the thing. We're also going to need a straight edge of some description. I'm using a level because it just happens to work pretty well. You're going to need a utility knife with a nice sharp blade to cut the cardboard, obviously. And I'm also saying you're going to probably need a couple of rolls of, or a roll of some kind of either masking tape, or I like to use painter's tape, and we'll probably use that just to fit things together and hold them together. I wouldn't necessarily say that you're going to have that, but it's nice to have it on the list. Oh, and we're going to need our famous glue gun, because we're definitely going to be using that to put all of this business together. Now, it sounds like a big mess right now, but just remember, your main components are going to be that 37mm hood, the pop-up magnifying lens, and the LCD protector for the back of your T2i. That kind of holds the whole works together. One thing that I'm not going to say you have to have, but I've got anyway, and that is an eye cup that I took off of an old VHS camcorder. And sometimes you can find those camcorders at yard sales for a couple bucks. If they've got a good eye cup on them, it's probably worth getting. I found out you really don't need it, but it does help to put that up to your eye. If you can find one, maybe we can come up with some kind of a way to make one. But I can't really recommend that, because that is a little bit difficult to say that you've got to have. Good news is you don't have to have it. Anyway, I think that's going to take care of us for part 1. Part 2, we'll start putting some of this stuff together and see if we can't make a decent viewer for the back of our camera. Maybe we can't. I don't know. You're doing this right along with me. I was able to do it with this piece of cardboard, and it seemed to work okay. We're going to see if we can put all these parts together and make it into something. And who knows, you get to fail right along with me if it doesn't work. Anyway, until next time, as always, you know what to do. Keep shooting.